The Women's Leadership Institute in the Auburn University College of Liberal Arts is pleased to present Leaders Educating Through Discussion. We hope you will take a moment after you watch our presentation to add your own voice to the dialogue on our website, auburn.edu/womensleadership.
Well, I'll tell you the good news and the bad news about this. The hard thing about it is that in this country likes to think of itself as a fair country. And so the hard thing is that actually most people think this is already done. They think that women lead everywhere. And the good thing is that it's the time that women are going to get to lead. So let me tell you why. Let me start with this. This is for you. This is your generation. This is your generation. This is an enormous different period in the life of our country. You are living in an enormously different time. What's happening right now, I think of always as a man that possibly many of you have never heard of, and that's John Nesbitt, who wrote a book called Megatrends. In Megatrends, Nesbitt wrote, and this is the thing I think he was most known for, that you have to know the business you're in, the time you're doing it. And he wrote about the railroad business. He said, the railroad business failed. You know why it failed? It thought it was still in the railroad business. But it wasn't. It was in the transportation business, a much bigger business. And it failed. It never has really recovered. And what I think of now is I think about this business we're in and why it is time to bring women in, is that we are not in the gender business anymore. We're not just here talking about women's leadership, gender, men, whatever. We are in the transformation business. That's what's happening now in this country. It's the transformation business. And so it is time, and it is happening, that a diverse group of people, particularly women, are coming into power all over the world. I could tell you a million reasons why you're in the transportation, or we are in the transportation business, not too well yet, but in the transformation business. But I think I could tell you all the statistics that women now are trusted at the same level as men or more to run things in almost every aspect of leadership. I could tell you about Norway and all the European countries who are putting women on boards. Are actually using quotas. I'm trying to get our country to think of it like, if we said we were doing quotas, could we do it? If we didn't call it quotas, would we do it? No, they're using quotas to get women on board. I can tell you things that are happening, but I think some of the most amazing things recently that say how the transformation business is coming along is who won the Nobel Peace Prizes last week? 3 women. 3 women won the prize that we are struggling with in our world, how to have peace. 3 women run that prize. It is just astounding. We are in the transformation business. And I want you to think some with me, because I want to talk about this a little more, about these women, but particularly one of them, because she's the one that I think is best illustrates how different who succeeds is going to be. Leymah Gbowee won the prize. She won it for her work in Liberia. She had been somebody actually reintegrating child soldiers back into the country of Liberia. But of course, it was a 20-year war. It was a horrible war. It was a terrible dictator, Charles Taylor. And what she did, I don't know how many of you have seen the documentary, Pray the Devil Back to Hell. But that documentary tells her story. She was a mother, and she said, this can't keep happening. And so she got the Christian women together and the Muslim women together. She put them together as a group and said, we will call for peace. Now, I don't think any of us in this room can imagine how outrageous that was. I don't know if we can imagine these mothers who had seen the soldiers come in and rape them, rape their children, take their sons, kill their husbands. This was Charles Taylor. It was a massacre in that country. And the women who did this had mostly lost things, but they gathered together and they put on white and they went out there and they sat in the side of the road and they sat in the markets. They walked miles with children. They sat every day and they said, we want peace. We want peace. They eventually got to the meetings. Lema talked to Charles Taylor himself. They surrounded the men at some point with their whiteness, sitting there saying, you will vote for peace. And when the men said no, one thing they did that people keep reminding me is they did withhold sex. We should think about that. But, I digress. But the other thing they did was, of course, they were outrageous. We have to be more outrageous, by the way. Gloria Steinem, who I worked with for years, used to say, do one outrageous act every day. I say do 3 or 4 because we need it. But at any rate, they were outrageous, and they said, we will take off our clothes. Now, in that culture, it was the worst thing you could do, because to see your mother undressed was like, oh, my God, don't undress here. I mean, they were outrageous, but they were amazing. And you know what? Ellen Johnson Sirleaf got elected, who is one of the other winners of the Peace Prize, partially because they brought this war to an end. I want you to think about who are the people now, and I'm talking to men and women in this audience, who are the people that are going to make this change in an area of transformation? And I want you to think about it, too, with regard to who just died recently, which is Steve Jobs. I mean, I want you to think about expertise. Is expertise usually the thing that does it? I don't know. Sometimes I think our experts have failed us, but Steve Jobs didn't have the expertise to do the job. He was not even an engineer. He was not an engineer, but he created products that actually changed our world, right? Because he knew how they should look and how they should feel and how they should work and what we wanted them to do. They do much more than I want them to do. My son is the cult of Mac. So now I am a Mac user, and I am a part of the cult of Mac. And I wish they didn't do so much, but that he changed everything. But why was he able to do that? He did it because his motto was, think different. Think different. That's what I want you to think about as we talk about women's leadership and leading alongside men and bringing our whole selves in. Think different. When we created the White House Project, we did it because we thought we needed more people thinking different. You know, the research now that Scott Page has put out all over the country and the world is that thinking different is actually getting you to a better decision, having difference at the table, difference by race, difference by gender, difference by ability, difference by age, gets you a better decision than a group of experts. Difference matters. The world is too complicated. We cannot have a world any longer where in this country we have not changed the number of women in Congress over a period of since 1992. Come on, this is amazing. How could we, the leading democracy, be hovering at 23 and 24% of Congress for this long? I mean, not Congress, but the state legislatures this long. Oh, in Congress, it's worse. It hovers between 16 and 17%. It is outrageous. How can we have a school like this where I'm sure that more women will graduate than men from this school eventually? Most colleges do. But you will not have changed, in spite of your powerful people here, you will not have changed the number of women college presidents in America in 10 years, 20 years, 500. I mean, you have to think different. And so you can't leave out half the people. I could go on. You can't have 15% of the women in the law firms, 2% African-American women, women of color. You can't have the lack of diversity we have and succeed. And so I am telling you, think different and think difference, because men and women, you are going to want to be together. And it works to have men and women together because we do think different. I've been studying neuroscience lately. I'm not a great scientist, but I've been studying that there are differences in the brain. I really tried to acknowledge that. I didn't want that to happen, actually. I thought it wouldn't be a good idea, but actually women and men's brains are different. 80% of us have a kind of gendered brain. And what's interesting about it is they work together. Men's brains, usually, when a problem comes up, go straight to the problem. Women's brains, when a problem comes up, often do not go straight to the problem. Some of us have mixed brains, but that's all right. My brain goes, I can feel it, It's circling the problem, And God knows the men in my life say, just get to the point. But, what I'm doing is I'm thinking about this aspect and this aspect and this aspect. And I learned, by the way, that the corporate women that I know told me that long ago they learned not to talk about the stuff, but I didn't get the message. It's really important, though, to have people who are circling the problem and thinking of every aspect as well as this. And girls and young women and men and boys who are in the audience, I do want you to know that the funniest thing I've learned about this, and the thing that may help you in your relationships the most, is that anthropologists now tell me that boys' brains, men's brains, rest. I couldn't believe it, a brain that rests. And she said, well, women were in the hut doing the work and they had to do the children, and the men were out there standing behind a tree waiting for something to hit with a rock. It never occurred to me. Men's brains rest. And women, I don't know how you feel about that, but I am jealous. I'm so jealous, but it has helped my relationship so much because I spent half my life saying to men, what are you thinking? And they said, nothing. Well, it went on. I got madder and madder. I know you're thinking something. You have to be thinking something. No. Finally, it really is a relief to know that they're not. And I am jealous. But we are learning that there's collaboration in the thing. It's not about one over the other. It's like having things that work together. But what we know we need in the world so desperately right now are people who but who have, because they have been at the foot of the table, which is women, we have not had command and control leadership, have had to learn different things too. We have had to learn to bring people together like Lema did. We have had to bring people together to change power. We have had to work across difference because we have not had that kind of power. We have learned some things that the world now needs very badly. And that's why we are going to have, as I am speaking on in Italy next week, Gorbachev is having something that's usually all men, and it's having something about women. He says it's a century of women. I'm going to go along. I'm going to join. But I'm going to get to speak on leadership as a duty for women, not just a right, because it is the real time. Well, what do you do when it's this time? I mean, this is what we've been doing at the White House Project, by the way, for the last several years, is just working it every way to try to get women in. I mean, to a great extent, we have now trained, and I'm very proud of this, because we've been going around trying to get numbers of women in political office by training 10 and 20 at a time. We've trained 11,000 women in the last 5 years to run for office. And thank you. And they have been, 75% of them are under 35, which is when you have to run to get to the top.